Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss on the topic type of heart, its anatomy and hemopoiesis. Before entering the topic, we want to know about the major organ of circulation, that is heart. The heart is a muscular cone-shaped organ in most animals, which pump blood through the blood vessels of circulatory system. We know that heart is the important organ in blood circulation. The pumped blood carries oxygen and nutrients to the body and also carrying metabolic waste such as carbon dioxide to the lungs. The major function of heart is to provide sufficient oxygen and nutrients to the body and also release the carbon dioxide like metabolic waste from the body. In human, the heart approximately the size of a closed fist. The mass of heart is 280 to 340 gram in men and in women it is 230 to 280 grams. Then heart anatomy. The human heart is located within the thoracic cavity. The wall of heart is made up of three layers: inner endocardium, middle myocardium, and outer epicardium. These are surrounded by a double membrane sac is called pericardium. That is, the heart wall is consist of three layers. The outer is epicardium, middle myocardium, and inner endocardium. There is another a double membrane sac-like structure is called pericardium. The endocardium is made up of simple squamous epithelium. It covers the chambers of heart and its valves. The myocardium contains involuntary striated muscle tissue surrounded by collagen. The collagen is also a fibrous protein. The pericardium of heart produced pericardial fluid. The pericardial fluid is present in the pericardial cavity. The cavity is a space between the two membranes of pericardium. It acts as a lubricant which can stabilize the position of heart within the chest and avoid the friction when the contraction and relaxation of heart. It protects the heart from injuries and infections. Then chambers of heart. The human heart is consist of four chambers. The left side and right side each have an atrium and ventricle. Each of the upper chambers, the right atrium and the left atrium, both act as receiving chambers and contract to push blood into the lower chambers. That is, the human heart is consist of four chambers. The upper two are atrium or auricle and the lower two are ventricle. These atriums are called receiving chambers which can receive blood when it contracts to push blood into the lower chambers. The lower chambers are right and left ventricle. These ventricles act as primary pumping chambers of the heart, providing blood to the lungs or to the rest of the body. That is, the lower two chambers are left and right ventricle. These ventricles are called pumping chambers because which can pump blood to the lungs and other body parts. The right atrium and ventricle are together called right heart, while the left atrium and ventricle are together called the left heart. The atrium and ventricles are separated by atrioventricular septum. Each atrium are separated by interatrial septum or interauricular septum. Each ventricles are separated by interventricular septum. That is, there are a pair of atrium, that is the right atrium and left atrium. The right and left atrium is separated by interatrial septum and the lower two ventricle, that is the right ventricle and left ventricle, these are separated by interventricular septum, and both the atrium and both ventricles are separated by atrioventricular septum. The interventricular septum is much thicker than the interatrial septum because the ventricle needs to generate greater pressure when they contract. That is, the aorta is found in the left ventricle. Likewise, the pulmonary artery found in the right ventricle. Here, the ventricle generates great pressure to push blood through these vessels. So, the interventricular septum is much thicker than the atrial septum. There is a diagram which shows the four chambers of heart, that is the right atrium, right ventricle, then the left atrium and left ventricle. Both the atriums are separated by interatrial septum and both ventricles are separated by interventricular septum, and atriums and ventricles are separated by atrioventricular septum. The pulmonary artery is originated from the right ventricle and the aorta is originating from the left ventricle. Then valves of heart. The heart consists of different valves. The valves present between the atrium and ventricles are called atrioventricular valve. This atrioventricular valve is present between the atrium and ventricle. Between the right atrium and right ventricle, there is a valve is called tricuspid valve. The tricuspid valve is present between the right atrium and the right ventricle. The valve present between the left atrium and left ventricles are called bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve is present between the left atrium and left ventricle. There are two additional semilunar valves sit at the exit of each the ventricles. The pulmonary valve is located at the base of pulmonary artery. There are additional a pair of semilunar valves sit at the exit of each ventricles. Each ventricles means the left and the right ventricles. And the pulmonary valve is also located at the base of the pulmonary artery. Okay. Then the right and left heart. The right heart consists of two chambers, the right atrium and right ventricle. This right atrium received blood from the superior and inferior vena cava. In the wall of right atrium have an oval shaped depression is called fossa ovalis. There is an oval shaped depression in the wall of right atrium is called fossa ovalis. Here the right atrium is connected to the right ventricle by tricuspid valve. The wall of right ventricle lined with a structure is called trabeculae carneae. The ridges of cardiac muscles covered by endocardium known as moderator band plays a crucial role in cardiac conduction. The left heart has two chambers, the left atrium and the left ventricle. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood back from the lungs via one of the pulmonary veins. The left atrium is lined by pectinate muscles. The left ventricle is much thicker as compared with the right ventricle due to the greater force needed to pump blood to the entire body. The left ventricle also have a trabeculae carneae lining, but there is no moderator band. The left ventricle pumps blood to the body through the aortic valve and into the aorta. Then blood circulation. The first one is pulmonary circulation. There are two distinct but linked circuits in human circulations called pulmonary and systemic circulation. The pulmonary circulation moves blood between the heart and the lungs. It transports deoxygenated blood to the lungs to absorb oxygen and released carbon dioxide. These oxygenated blood then flow back to the heart. This is the process of pulmonary circulation. The pulmonary circulation is the system of transportation that shunt deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs to be resaturated with the oxygen before being dispersed into the systemic circulation. The deoxygenated blood from the lower half of the body enters the heart from the inferior vena cava, while deoxygenated blood from the upper body is delivered to the heart via the superior vena cava. Both the inferior and superior vena cava gives blood into the empty right atrium. The blood flow through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The pulmonary artery carrying this blood from the right ventricle to the lungs, where it released the carbon dioxide and replenished with oxygen. This oxygenated blood reached in the left atrium through pulmonary vein. Here the pulmonary vein carrying oxygenated blood or pure blood, but in the body other veins are carrying impure blood. This oxygenated blood from the left atrium moves down through the bicuspid valve into left ventricle. This is the beginning of systemic circulation. This entire process is described in the form of a flowchart. Then systemic circulation. In systemic circulation moves blood between the heart and the rest of the body. The oxygenated blood enters the left atrium from the pulmonary vein, then it transfers to the left ventricle through bicuspid valve. In the left ventricle, the blood is pumped to the aorta through the aortic valve. The arches and branches into major arteries to the upper body before passing through the diaphragm, where it branches further into iliac, renal and suprarenal arteries, which supply the lower part of the body. These arteries branches into smaller arteries, arterioles, and finally capillaries. The gas and nutrient exchange with the tissues occurs within the capillaries that run through the tissues. The metabolic wastes and carbon dioxide removed from the cell and supply oxygen and glucose into the cell. So the systemic circulation keep the metabolism of every organ and every tissues in the body alive. The deoxygenated blood continues through the capillaries which merge into venules, veins and finally the vena cava which drain into the right atrium of the heart. From the right atrium, the blood will travel through the pulmonary circulation to be oxygenated before returning again to systemic circulation. This flow chart is representing the entire process of systemic circulation. Then move on to the next section, types of heart. The first one is chambered heart. It is a closed circulatory system found in vertebrates and cephalopods. It may be 2, 3 or 4 chambered. In fish, heart consists of single atrium and ventricle. In amphibians, heart consists of 2 atrium and 1 ventricle. That is, it is a 3-chambered heart. For example, frog. Reptiles, the heart is incompletely 4-chambered. The reptiles have 4-chambered heart, but it is incomplete. In mollusk, heart have either 1 or 2 atrium and only 1 ventricle. In chambered heart, atrium is thin-walled while ventricle is thick-walled. Then another one is tubular heart, seen within arthropods. Exists as contractile heart, single chamber with reinforced walls have striated muscles. This heart is made up of striated muscles. The valve prevents backflow of blood. Ascidian heart pumps gradually stops and reverse direction. The Ascidian have tubular heart which can pump blood, but it gradually stops and it can flow blood to the reverse direction. The next one is ampular heart. They are also called accessory heart, common occurrence in insect. This ampular heart is mostly seen in insect, met at different places in insect body. Branchial heart comes under this category. The branchial hearts are example of ampular heart. Then activity depends on specialized extrinsic muscles seen in cephalopods and crustaceans also. The next one is lymph heart, seen in lungfishes, reptiles, flightless birds, etc. It functions as a small pump. Here the animals that pump limbs. Lymphatic system of frog contains lymph vessels and lymph heart. The frogs and toads have 10 to 20 lymph heart in their body, and caecilians have more than 100 lymph heart. Reptiles possess a single pair of lymph heart. Then neurogenic heart. It is an open circulatory system. Open circulatory system means there is no blood vessels. Okay, it is act like a heart. This heart is beat by nerves impulse. The heartbeat also depends on their nerve impulse. It get closed when heart contracts and open when relaxed, so it is also called a suction pump. It get closed when heart contract. If the heart is contract, it become closed and open when the heart is in a relaxed position. Require nervous input to contract and relax. This contraction and relaxation of heart is also depends on their nervous input, seen in annelids and insect. In crustaceans, the cardiac ganglions, that is a clusters of neurons, that is called cardiac ganglions, which can produce the rhythmic motor outputs. The last one is myogenic heart. In higher animals with the closed circulatory system. Closed circulatory systems, which means the blood is only passed through the blood vessels and there is a well developed circulatory system. They possess 2, 3 or 4 chambered heart. In human is an example of myogenic heart. The heart with the muscular ventricle pumps blood in the body with pressure. Hence, this heart is also called pressure pumps. In pressure pump heart, the rhythm is set by specialized muscle cells called myogenic heart. All vertebrates and in some invertebrates, the rhythm is due to specialized cells which are called pacemaker. The conducting impulses. In teleost, the floor of atrium and atrioventricular junction act as a pacemaker. In mammals and birds, sinoatrial and atrioventricular nodes act as pacemaker. In amphibians and reptiles, sinus venosus act as a pacemaker. In limulus, large ganglion mass act as pacemaker. There are some pictures of different types of heart. The frog heart is an example of chambered heart, and the second one is a bird heart, and the sea squats. Sea squats having tubular heart. The first figure shows a lymph heart, and the pacemaker. The picture of a pacemaker. It is in the myogenic heart. For example, human heart. Then the next topic is hemopoiesis. The hemopoiesis or hematopoiesis is the formation of blood cells. Some example of hemopoietic organs are bone marrow, thymus, lymph nodes, and lymph follicles, spleens, liver, etc. The blood cells are formed from hemopoietic stem cells, that is HSCS. It can be represented by HSCS, that is hemopoietic stem cells, which are either multipotent or pluripotent in nature. The hemopoietic stem cells are special type of cells present in bone marrow. They are rare and their numbers are strictly controlled and balanced by the cell division, cell death and cell differentiation. It is the process by which the immature precursor cells develop into mature blood cells. The currently accepted theory of hemopoiesis is called monophyletic theory. According to this theory, a single type of stem cells gives rise to all the mature blood cells in the body. This stem cells is called the pluripotential or pluripotent stem cells. That is, a single type of stem cells give rise to all the mature blood cells in the body. So, the stem cells is called pluripotent. In bone marrow, the hemopoiesis is take place in the extravascular compartment. It consists of a stroma of reticular connective tissue and a parenchyma of developing blood cells, plasma cells, macrophages, and fat cells. The bone marrow is the site for other important activities such as removal of aged and defective erythrocytes, differentiation of B lymphocyte, and also it is the site of numerous plasma cells. During embryonic development in human and other mammals, hemopoiesis initially occurs in the yolk sac. This process then occurs at the spleen, liver, and lymph nodes as the embryo further develops. In fetus, it occurs primarily in the liver. When bone marrow is formed, the hemopoiesis will occur chiefly in the site till adulthood. mainly bone marrow of cranium, sternum, and pelvis. In children, it occurs mainly in the bone marrow of femur and tibia. Based on the cell type that differentiate at the end of developmental process, the hemopoiesis may be referred as follows. The first one is erythropoiesis. The process of formation of red blood cells known as erythropoiesis. It is enhanced by decreased level of oxygen in the blood, which signals for the secretion of erythropoietin. Erythropoietin is a central hormone for the formation of red blood cells or erythropoiesis. These erythropoiesis take on average 2 days to be completed from to mature red blood cells. The 2 million erythrocytes are produced every second in our bodies. Then granulopoiesis. The process of formation of granulocyte is termed as granulopoiesis. The granulocytes are white blood cells having multilobular nuclei and cytoplasmic granules. In the first stage, the unipotent hemopoietic cells from hemopoietic cells form myeloblast with cytoplasm and large nucleus. These cells give rise to promyelocytes that contain eosinophilic granules, then it become a myelocyte. This myelocyte give rise to a metamyelocyte have mature granulocyte and nucleus. The next is the band cell stage where the nucleus resembles a horseshoe shape. There is the mature granulocyte having a lobed nucleus and cytoplasmic granules. This entire process occurs over a period of 2 weeks. Then monopoiesis. This is the process of formation of monocytes. The typical process of hemopoiesis consists of differentiation of multipotential hemopoietic stem cells into either the common myeloid or lymphoid progenitor. This myeloid progenitor can differentiate into myeloblast. This myeloblast leads to the formation of granulocyte such as basophil, eosinophil, neutrophil, etc. and monocyte, that is macrophages and dendritic cells. This monocyte having kidney-shaped nuclei and can develop into dendritic cells or macrophages. The next one is lymphopoiesis. This is the formation of lymphocyte. This process is start from their first committed progenitor cells are called lymphoblast. These lymphoblasts after maturation are able to differentiate into either B cells, T cells or natural killer cells. The last one is thrombopoiesis. In the bone marrow, the megakaryocytes, they are the extremely large cells forms platelets. This process is called thrombosis. Thrombosis is the process of formation of platelets. When the plasma membrane of megakaryocytes are fragmented, then the origin of individual platelets are take place. It have many granules. Then regulation of hemopoiesis. The hemopoiesis is largely regulated by the presence of cytokines. These cytokines are responsible for regulating the differentiation of multipotential hemopoietic stem cells into specific cell type by the activation of transcription factors. These cytokines are very important for differentiation of particular cell type. Otherwise, animals die during embryogenesis. Some cytokines that regulate hemopoiesis. That is examples. Granulocyte macrophages colony stimulating factor is a transcription factor which is help for differentiation of granulocyte and macrophages. The transcription factor GATA2, that is all hemopoietic lineage require this transcription factor. The next one is erythropoietin, otherwise called EPO, that is uh, it is a transcription factor which helps in erythropoiesis, that is the process of formation of RBC. thrombopoietin, that is TPO, is a transcription factor in the thrombopoiesis, that is process of formation of platelets. Granulocyte colony stimulating factor, that is GCSF, monocyte colony stimulating factor, that is MCSF, are another important examples of transcription factors in the regulation of hemopoiesis. Thank you.